Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to review LopoBRN. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm recommending a lot of people to select him in the non-stop SSR Plus banner, and I figured it would be a good idea to provide some more information on this unit, how to build him, how to use him, and yeah, that's mainly the reason I would say. I'm going to go over the usual points, so I'm going to talk about how good this unit is, the skills, extra equipment, gear, ignition weapon, report, and revolution. I'm also going to show some fights, I would say, at the end of the video, so you can also look at that to see how he performs on my current floor. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say. So for the first point, how good is this unit? I will say, obviously, I'm recommending him. This guy is a real monster. He has the potential to go 1v5 against a lot of teams. And the thing is, like, he is really good early on in the game, in the mid stages of the game, late game, is always relevant. He might start to fall off at very high deficits. That's not something many people will experience, so you won't really have to worry about that. You can just, like, rest assured this guy is going to be a monster no matter what. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the first point. The second point is obviously the skills, so we're going to have a look at those right now. The most important skill that he has is the passive. The passive is going to summon the bull when the battle starts, and the bull will get 160% of LopoBRN stats at the time of summoning. This does not change over time. If you receive debuffs, the bull is not affected, and if you receive buffs, the bull is also not affected. So yeah, these two entities are exactly that, two separate entities. So keep that in mind. And while the bull is alive, LopoBRN is also gaining a pretty substantial buff, which is 40% physical and magic resistance. This is really important, and we'll have to take that into account when we build the ignition weapon. They also mentioned that this buff cannot be removed. To be honest, I never saw this sentence before. I'm I'm almost 100% sure it was not there. Like in the past weeks, it was probably added with the release of Green Hiwa. And yeah, it, like this buff was never removed against Urek Mazino. It was always there. The way I thought it was working before is that the buff got removed, but then immediately reapplied because the bull was alive. Now it seems that it cannot just not be removed, so it's okay. There is also a debuff if the bull were to die. So yeah, basically if the bull dies, guy, Ren is dead. There is no way around it. It's fine. He's also going to get a debuff, so he loses the 40% increase and then gets the debuff of 4%. This debuff is higher and the resistances are obviously lower if you don't have a one red Ren. But yeah, I will say one red is probably the minimum requirement. I had one green here because recommending an SSR plus unit to be more than that early on as a DPS, it was kind of weird. But I will say I do have the one red thing, so I will just put it like this and change that. But yeah, this is basically the passive. We also have another part that just says the bull is going to prioritize attacking Ren's targets and is going to get movement speed and swiftness increase when Ren is attacked. If LopoBRN dies, the bull dies with him. This is also pretty obvious, but yeah, important to say. Then we have Summon Heal, the first active skill. This is an AoE attack. The range is not that big, but still not too bad. And is going to deal 800% attack 3 times, which is a total of 2400. A pretty good multiplier for an active skill. And is going to CC the enemies for 2 seconds with an airborne effect. Afterwards, the bull is going to follow up with a skill of his own, and that's going to be the same for also the other 2 skills. And the bull is going to strike Ren's target with its tail to deal 400% of his attack as damage. This is a total of around 2800 percent attack as damage. Is not exactly that because obviously the bull has its own stats, and it might be more, it might be less. It all depends on the bull, but that's pretty good. and it's going to stun the enemies for 2 seconds. So we have quite a bit of crowd control and damage in this active skill. That's all there is to it. Then we have the second active skill. This is going to be sort of sustain ability. So it's going to teleport to the bull and restore his HP for 48% of its max HP. He's also going to restore his own HP and energy by like 24% here. And immediately afterwards, the bull is going to cast another skill that we're going to read in a second. If the bull is dead, Lopobiaran is just going to lick himself and recover 24% of his max HP and energy. The roar skill is basically an attack percent increase and swiftness increase on the bull, which is pretty nice, and it's going to last for 10 seconds. Then we have the special move. This skill is quite important, and the damage is quite substantial, I would say, especially because you can really spam this skill with the ignition weapon and the exclusive equipment that we're going to look at in a second. And is going to teleport to the enemies, deal 1200% of his attack as damage to nearby enemies, and stun them for 2 seconds. And immediately afterwards, the bull is going to use a follow-up skill. So the bull bite skill is going to be a multi-hit attack. Is going to hit the enemy 5 times for 200% attack each, which is quite a huge amount. This is 2200% attack as damage on the special move, which is less than the active skill, but this is going to be cast way more frequently. And we also get a debuff from the bull portion of the skill that is going to decrease the enemy magic resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. This is also quite huge, is a really good damage buff for your team if you're running other like magic damage dealers. So overall, the kit is really, really solid. Now let's have a look at the exclusive equipment, which is unfortunately quite bad. The stat that you get as an additional stat in this case is crit rate, which is fine early on, but will become entirely useless as soon as you invest in Revolution for him. In the crit rate sub node, it's fine. You can just probably save some orange resources, but at the end of the day, it would have been better if this stat was something else like crit damage or even resistances. Would have been a lot better, but it's okay. We get what we get. Then we have the first skill, which is Ren recovers 10 energy when the bull uses a basic attack on an enemy. This is going to allow him to spam the special move quite frequently if coupled together with the other set that we're going to see, like the ignition weapon set that we're going to see in a second. And this is basically the only good stuff he has on the exclusive equipment because level 2 and level 3 are ridiculous. They only apply when the bull dies, but when the bull dies, Ren is dead. I guess this can help in the scenario where you're in a 1v1. Only one enemy is left, is almost dead. He manages to kill the bull, and Oren would have been about to die, but he got this 5-second invincibility and 100% of energy back when the bull is dead. He's going to cast this special move and kill off the enemy. This is the only scenario, but is totally, I'm not gonna say totally unrealistic, but it basically is. Really makes no sense. I don't like those two at all. Entirely useless. Level 4 is a bit better, but again, not anything that you would really need in general. And is going to be an HP recovery every 5 seconds while the bull is alive. Pretty much useless for the way that Ren is played. So it's fine, but really nothing major in this exclusive equipment. I guess for PvP it could be somewhat okay, but definitely not useful for adventure. Really, really terrible, but it's okay. Then we have the gear part of the video. I will say resistances is your #1 priority, and your second priority early on is obviously going to be accuracy. You want every bit of accuracy you can get. Your third priority is going to be the book for that additional damage. Obviously, that's also a really good one. And the last one is going to be at the remaining accuracy and a bit of evasion that now we kind of can go over the enemy accuracy even if we're not really playing full evasion. So like the third page plus the archive buff kind of like also change the way that the evasion meta is working. I would say evasion is a valid alternative if you would like the RNG playstyle. I personally don't, so I'm sticking with the resistances, especially now that we have overcapping. So that's what I'm doing, but you can obviously go for the evasion route if you wanted to. And yeah, that was all also for the gear. Regarding ignition weapon, this is where things get tricky because here in my spreadsheet, let me just move it up a little bit. I first want to talk about this first section here. So, okay, well, first, the pieces you have to prioritize are going to be the attack piece and the resistance pieces. Those three pieces are the most important ones. HP and defense are really only there for the substats. You don't care too much. And yeah, what's recommended is to just level them up a bit. Don't worry too much about investing in slot 2 and 3. And the other 3 slots, get them to plus 20. So that's the recommended investment. Obviously, getting everything to plus 20 is the best option, but that's fine. The way I recommending you the way I recommend you play this guy early on is to go with double resistances. So resistance main stat on slot 4 and resistance main stat on slot 5. And with just that, it will go over the 62% that I wrote here in the notes. Because like looking at the passive that I mentioned before, is getting a plus 40%. So theoretically, he only needs 59% resistances to get to that 99%, which is the cap at the moment, kind of. So yeah, he only needs 59%. But there is a but. The bull is getting 160% of his stats, and with 59%, he cannot get to 99% resistances. To get there, he needs 62%. So that's why you want that 62%, okay? And if you get the 40%, actually not a 40%, you get a 33.6 because we're talking about plus 16 pieces. You get a 33.6% magic and physical resistance. You will have a super easy time getting to this 62%, and Ren will already be immortal. It will never die. So that's the minimum requirement. And as soon as you have that, it's going to be a monster, okay? Now, is that the best build? No, it's not. Going resistances main stat in both of them could still be viable also later on, but at that point you really need a lot of investment on like a lot of support units that can still boost his damage, and you will see that he will fall off a lot earlier. The way you want to play him is with slot 5 magic peers, and for slot 4 is where it gets tricky. You have two options mainly. One of them is effect resistance. The other one is going with overcapping resistances and going for magic resistance. You could just say, fuck everything, I will go with crit damage. You could, but you would really risk it, in my opinion, for just a like tiny bit of additional damage. I don't think it makes that much sense, but it is an option as well. Not going to mention it, but it is an option. So my like the way I'm building him is going with effect resistance because with this plus the 80 from the origin orb, my Ren will start with 300 effect resistance. That means the bull will start with like what I didn't even do the math, but like 375-ish, something like that. Sorry, five, like a lot more than that, like 570 or whatever. I don't even know, guys. Really, a lot of it. So it will most likely dodge all the annoying resistance reductions, crowd controls, etc. And the same is going to be true for Ren. He's also going to dodge the like resistance decreases and all the annoying stuns and paralyzes, whatever. This is going to be extremely huge for him to keep casting skills, keeping the bull alive, and for the bull to keep dishing out some damage. So I really like this option. The alternative would have been magic resistance, as I said, to overcap it so that you do receive the debuffs, but they're not going to be enough to take you below 99%. So these are the two options, but if you go magic resistance, you will then have to focus a lot more on physical resistance in the subnodes while still focusing on magic resistance. I would say a good goal would be to get to 140% in both. If you do go the magic resistance route, that is really difficult, okay? So I still believe the best way is to go with effect resistance like I'm doing now. Like, I would say magic resistance and more resistance in general could be still valid. But yeah, this is the main reason. Now, if you go effect resistance, it's fine with the 62% I mentioned here in the notes, but there is a but. You do want to focus on like getting more than 62% for one main reason. Now, if you look at mine, I recently reworked my tree essence, so my stats are a bit higher than they were a few days ago, but I have 83% magic resistance and 79% physical resistance, plus the 300 effect resistance I mentioned before. So as you can see, mine are quite high, and especially I have a lot of magic pierce as well. These stats are really high for a Ren. Don't like take them as a reference, but don't worry if you cannot get there. It's going to be quite tricky. But with these stats, what will happen is that my Ren will have like 123% magic resistance and 119% physical resistance. Now, like after floor 71, you will start facing Red Mask Warrior and regular Leroy. Both of them have magic pierce. You cannot prevent magic pierce from effect resistance. You can only do so with overcapping resistances. So starting one like 115%, like starting after the 40% buff. So at 75% resistances is recommended, like really, really a lot. I will probably mention it in the notes or maybe in the additional notes, we'll see. But you do want to get 75% resistances by the time you are at floor 71. That's going to be super important. And yeah, I would say the more you get, the better. If you start with like 75%, the bull will also have around like 120%. So he's also going to resist the peers, which is the most important thing, I would say. Everything else in here is not really too important. We see that I also have an okay swiftness. Unfortunately, intelligence is the one that you have the least amount of swiftness with. So I have a starting 89 plus the 20 from the revolution. And crit rate and crit damage mainly come from revolution. So they look high, but they actually are not. Don't worry too much. Everyone can get those. And yeah, that's pretty much it for ignition weapons. The set, I think I already mentioned, but the best set is L, mainly because of the attack buff and the attack speed buff. The attack speed buff will get you a lot of energy that in turn will result in more DPS and more special moves. While the attack buff will just increase your DPS because you don't really have a lot of attack buffs in your kit. So that's definitely beneficial. And with the revolution that we're going to read in a second, you will easily keep the 4 LSET effect up for a good portion of the fight. Not 100% because enemies will still target you at times. You will still get hit, but you have good chances of keeping it up. And I don't think there is any other better set. Stella is not too bad to protect Ren, but is not going to have an effect on the bull, so that's not too important. And you're also losing out on DPS, which is the most important thing on Ren. Like his survivability is top notch, no questions. It's just the damage needs to be improved. That's why you want to move to Magic Pierce, and that's why you want to move to a more offensive set. So yeah, that's pretty much it for ignition weapons. Again, if you have any questions, since this part is a bit tricky, let me know. Also, if you want me to recommend here as well the effect resistance part, let me know. It's just that it is tricky, is a bit more confusing to build. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. And yeah, I will move on to the next section, which is report. And again, here, as for most carry units, you want to go for a report 6. So that's almost a no-brainer, and just go for it. Nothing much here. The last point is going to be the revolution. And for the revolution, I will say the main nodes you want to focus on are affected is nice. I would say is a low priority node. You can get some, but with the 80 that we get for free, well, for free more or less, but that we get from the origin orb, I don't really feel the need for additional one, especially not in adventure. Enemies will not have effect resistance, so your debuffs, as long as you hit, are going to be applied. So you don't really need this for adventure and most PvE content for that matter. Then we have the accuracy increase. I don't feel the need for more accuracy, so I only took it to level 10 like a lot of weeks ago before we got all the increases. So yeah, probably you don't even need this, but just level it up as you need the accuracy to match the enemies. Don't go overboard. Accuracy, as long as you have more than the enemy, is entirely useless. Then we have swiftness. Swiftness is really helpful. It's going to boost the damage overall and quicken the animations. So 20 swiftness is really nice, but you don't have to go for 20 immediately. Just stick to 10 or so is fine. Then we have the crit rate node. That is the subnode of the T4. And this is extremely good. That's also the reason why I kind of complained about the stat increase of the exclusive equipment. And I only took it to level 16 because that was enough to get over 100%. If you are into PvP, you might want to put more because people might have the crit hit resistance. But yeah, I'm mainly playing for adventure and PvE content, so I don't really care too much about this. I only left to the bare minimum to get to the 100%. The HP node, pretty much useless. Up to you if you want to invest in it. It's just going to give the bull a few more stats and run as well. And I would say is only useful in PvP. Again, most of this stuff is useful in PvP for most classes, but mages I would say have one of the best subnodes in general. Now, if you look at the T4 upgrade ability, and then I'm going to look at the T5 as well, is that Lopo BRN is not going to be targeted for 6 seconds at the start of the battle. I don't think it's that important, but definitely helps because you can proc L right after 5 seconds. You will already have the L effect. And you can also like avoid the grab of Blood, for example, or the targeting of annoying assassins. Not that it matters too much because you would have resistances anyway, but it's still okay, I would say, to just more quickly stack that L for piece effect. Then we have the T5. This is here, I would say, for a similar reason that I was just mentioning. Lopo BRN becomes invincible while using excitement. This is the special move. And with a special move, it just gets close to the enemy team, and you might get hit by AoE attacks, which would end your 4-piece L effect. That's the only reason. You don't really care if you're hit or not because you're not going to die. So this is just there to keep the uptime on L. That's the only way I see it, and that's also why I believe L is the best set for him in general. If you use another set, these two effects are mainly like useless. Then we have an attack buff, extremely important. So just get it. It's really, really good. Crit damage increase with a 100% crit rate. It's a no-brainer, super helpful. So that's also a really good node. For T6 is not really that important. Again, it's only for arenas, and the effect is nothing fancy, I would say. But we do get a huge 60% special move pierce and a huge max cooldown reduction. Now I have not maxed out this node yet. 30% is what you get at level 20, which is double the amount of level 14. By the way, the scaling is really weird on these nodes. So yeah, really, really good. Could help, but it's not like you need to do it because you will get a ton of energy with spam the special move. You don't really care about the other cooldowns in general. But it's still nice, still a good addition. Just a lower priority than the rest, I would say. And yeah, that's pretty much all for Revolution as well. I will say before ending this video, I will just showcase him a little bit. Let me see if we can do a fight here. Or if I will just, yeah, let's first try a fight here, and then I can just show the previous one. This matchup is not too hard. Now I'm not using Hiwa because that would be like cheating if you were to use this unit. She's just too busted, especially at Revolution 5. So I kind of made a mistake there because now everything is too simple if you plug her in. So I replaced her with a useless Child and Dorsey with no revolution and just a random old Bergamot. She just gets barely enough physical resistance and quite a bit of magic resistance. That's pretty much all she gets. And she also has low physical peers, really shitty stats, so she's nothing much. She's just mainly there to stop energy regen on the enemy team, and is also here just because why not? But usually I would have played this team with the new Hiwa and regular Yuri, but just for the sake of trying things out, I won't do that, or it would be too easy of a win. Now the levels deficit, I didn't say it, but it was like 210, if I'm not mistaken. They are 210 levels higher than my carry slot and 230 levels higher than the others, but the others don't matter. And we can see here just the amount of damage that this guy will deal is not too hard, like it's not too high as you can see, but it will start like snowballing really, really quickly. This fight is not going that well. Ren is already dead. I also wanted to showcase how the new Endorsey is tanking, because if you see, she doesn't have a support, basically. We only had regular Leroro, but he's already dead. So we did not have a great support, but she still survived till the end. Also, the Child Endorsey one, she was dead, but she was revived with her passive. So overall, this fight went quite well. The enemies were not too difficult, I must say, but the fight was still good nonetheless. And you can see he dealt a shit ton of damage, was kind of expected, and the rest of the team did very little, but just boosted his damage here and there. So pretty good. Now I might also show some other replays of the previous fights, maybe also a fight with Hiwa and also regular Yuri, just in case. So if you go and look at the previous one, no, it was the same team, doesn't make sense. Let's look at the first one. Okay, it's still the same team. Let's see if the matchup was a bit harder. Okay, yeah, here we have a regular Leroro. It might not seem like much, but it's going to give everyone 16% peers. And that is extremely impactful. Well, it's going to give magic peers, so it's only impactful for Hiwa and Kunedan. Also, Kunedan kind of ignores your resistances at times, so even if you have a lot of resistances, it's still going to deal a shit ton of damage to you. So you will see Ren just taking a lot of damage if he's hit by Edan, I don't remember. Let's just have a look at this fight as well. And you can see that I have a lot of resistances overall, so a lot of people are tanking. But they are taking more damage than before. Well, Zahard is on a full damage build, so it doesn't really matter. He's going to explode soon anyway. But you will see that the Bull and Ran are always surviving. Here, the peers from that annoying, uh, like regular Leroro, boosted the damage of Hiwa's ult and dealt a shit ton of damage to my Ran, but still managed to survive and kill the enemies just fine. Now let's have a look maybe at the previous fight. I think in this one I did use Hiwa. Yeah, exactly. I did use Hiwa and regular Yuri. Regular Yuri didn't do much. Mine is really badly built. I would say she has a plus 20 set on everything, but she does not have any investment in the subnodes, in the revolution, so she's just average and she deals no damage whatsoever. I think she didn't even die in this fight, but she just couldn't kill anyone. So yeah, this is the setup I usually run. The position of the units might vary based on the enemies, but yeah. Let's just have a quick look and then we can end this video here, I would say. It would also slow it down a little bit, not too much. And we can see here data work is pretty annoying because he has a 20% physical resistance decrease that kind of dealt some damage to my Ren. But the bull is still alive, taking no damage. The burst from Ren was quite high, not enough to kill him, but he'll get there. Okay, Child Yuri, contrary to what I thought, just died. Evan is keeping the whole enemy team alive. Mind Dorsey is never dying, so that's totally great. There is still Evan doing Evan stuff. Fortunately, there my Ren burst down the chicken as he lost the invincibility, so that was good. Now they're going to heal back. He's going to cast a special move. No, it was interrupted. That's great, and then that's the win. So yeah, you can see that like Endorsi, Hiwa, and Ren are like super crazy units. I would say those three are now the core of the green team, the same way that Yellow, Hiwa, Bam, and Evan are the core of the yellow team. And I would say Iwa does fall off pretty badly later on, as you can also see here. I think she just died immediately in this fight. Compressed track might have just bursted her down, but just in general, her damage is not going to be that high anymore at this kind of deficit. So you don't really play her too much if the enemies are really tanky. I'm still doing so because I mean Adan is more than enough at the moment. I don't really care, and I'm still trying to push. If you remember, like yesterday or a couple of days ago, I was at floor 75. I already pushed all the way to 79.12, and I'm still not having any issues pushing. So I will try to reach like 82, I would say 83 by the time that Irang is out. And yeah, I hope I can reach some good deficits. I do have a lot of resources I'm not using. I might have to spend them for um, for the Alliance expedition to get the best results. But really, I don't really want to because at that point the adventure would be even easier because all of these I think would be more than 20 levels each, I believe. So I might be able to get to, I don't know, like 660 probably on my carry. Whatever, I don't know, guys. I will see if I have to use the resources for the Alliance expedition. We'll see how I'll perform with just this basic investment. If I see that I cannot do a lot of damage, I will try to get higher links. And we'll see. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this guide and it was helpful to you. If you have any questions on like how to build them, if I didn't cover certain things that you would like to know, let me know, and I will try to reply to you guys. And yeah, if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.